so feeling myself with this Azula hair right now. And I got a tiny fountain, and I'm really excited about it. Welcome back. Here we are. Thanks for coming back. It's lovely to see you again. So speaking of things that it's lovely to see again, Umbrella Academy Season 2 came out last week, and it was so good. And everything, everyone everything, all the outfits were so good. And so I was inspired, and I wanted to do an Umbrella Academy lookbook, but the looks are mostly inspired by what they wore in Season 1 because I don't really own anything vintage, so I couldn't really pull any of that off. But I also wanted to do a little bit of like analysis of like the character's journey so far from Season 1 into Season 2. So I sort of combined the ideas and did both. I'm just gonna start with number 1, and then when we get to the end, we're gonna stop. Despite possibly being the least well-liked member of the Umbrella Academy by the fandom, I think Luther's actually really interesting. I think a lot of the reasons that people tend not to like his character are the fact that he's really awkward and kind of domineering, but I would put that down almost as due to the fact that he was isolated on the moon for 4 years. I mean, if you think you're going crazy during quarantine, imagine being by yourself on the moon for 4 years. Just in his defense. I think he shows a lot of really interesting character traits, and I think he really develops and comes into his own during Season 2 when he's left alone and he has no team left to lead. Because his whole life he was told he has to be the leader of the Umbrella Academy, it's really interesting during Season 2 to see him become the leader of his own life and sort of take control of the person that he actually wants to be. Moving on to Diego. I really like Diego, and I think he is one of the funniest characters in the whole show because he doesn't really mean to be funny. He's just kind of really intense and also really awkward. Diego is super, super loyal, and you see it time and time again. He's loyal to his family, he's incredibly loyal to Grace, he's loyal to Lila again in Season 2, and I think that that loyalty gets abused by the people around him a lot, and that makes me really sad for him because I really like Diego. But on the other hand, he's also really, really aggressive, so I think sometimes he may kind of deserve the abuse because he is really aggro and definitely obsessive, like what we saw with JFK in Season 2 and his whole conspiracy with Dad's death, in quotes, in Season 1. Allison is definitely my favorite character in the series, but that doesn't mean I'm blind to her flaws. She is definitely controlling, not only in a literal sense because of her superpowers, but also emotionally. She tends to manipulate those around her into doing what she wants the way that she wants them to do it. But in Season 2, because she gave up her ability to rumor of her own volition, partly, and also because she literally couldn't talk for a year, I think that that drove her character into a really interesting space where she had to learn how to use her wit and her adaptivity for the first time in her life to actually become the person that she was meant to be without rumoring people. I also think Allison is a little bit egotistical and a little bit too independent because she tends to get herself into problems that she would definitely be able to get out of quicker if she just relied on some people for help. My other favorite character, Klaus. Klaus is very dimensional and I think underexplored. At least in Season 2, I didn't see as much of Klaus as I would have liked to. But aside from being often just a comic relief, Klaus actually is really smart and he has lots of ideas, and if his siblings would just listen to him, I think that he would realize he's a lot more capable than they believe him to be. But at the same time, I think he might be aware of his own capability and becomes the comic relief because he is afraid of finding out what he is truly capable of. So I think he is unsure of his own power, and so he tends to hide it and hide behind this facade of being wacky and sort of, well, drunk all the time. But aside from that, Klaus is just really sweet and genuinely cares for all of his siblings like few of the other members of the Academy do. 5. Where do I start with 5? 5 is definitely the most intelligent member of the Academy, but he is also by far the most aloof, and I think the hardest to relate to. Obviously, he has his moments where he watches his siblings be idiots that are incredibly relatable to anyone who has siblings. But I think that 5 is so interesting and so complex because it's so easy to forget that he's actually, like, 50-something? And he's just in the body of a teenage boy. And so for that reason, I think that's why he becomes so aloof, is that, at least from the audience perspective, we're still expecting him to be young and sort of juvenile, but really he's super, super mature and mostly just tired of the nonsense that his siblings are pulling all the time. But despite his dislike for them, he is super loyal to his family and generally cares about their well-being. Casper the friendly ghost. Ben. What a sweetheart. Honestly, Ben, I think, might be the nicest member of the entire Umbrella Academy. And I may only be saying that because he's genuinely nice to Klaus several times throughout season 2, and maybe he's only nice to Klaus because he has to be around Klaus. But I do think that Ben is very, very sweet, and the only thing negative I could even think of to say about him is that he's dead, and that's just, circumstantial. So, rip in peace, buddy. Last, but by no means least, we have Vanya. Vanya was so sweet and gentle and deserving of all of the love and protection in season 2, and it was so nice after the emotional explosion, if you will, of season 1. But that does bring me to the one thing I have to say about Vanya, is that she is so emotional, and that causes her to become very explosive in a literal sense, which tends not to be good for, the universe. But Vanya is a really genuine person, and even in season 1, when she was being put down by her siblings and Reginald and the perspective of her whole life, she still was genuinely herself and wouldn't apologize for being who she was, which I really liked about her. And that also led her to be very calm, and I just, she needs to be protected from everybody. So those are all the looks and my thoughts on the characters. I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, leave me a comment, maybe about what I should call this type of video. And subscribe to my channel, like the video, share it with people. That really means a lot. If you send this to one person who has not seen one of my videos yet, that would be a fun challenge that we could do. It's not really challenging for me, it's challenging for you guys, but thank you so much for watching. I post new videos every Sunday, so come on back next week and see what we do then, because I'm always, changing it up. So if you have any ideas for what I should do, leave me a comment, and we'll see what I get up to next week. So, but until then, wave like the queen. Screw the light bulb, screw the light bulb, screw the light bulb, screw the light bulb.